Hello, people online. I just kind of wanted to vent about some like conflicting emotions and complex emotions I was feeling this morning. So, I just dropped my son off at school, hanging out on the patio with my cat, and was looking on Facebook and got told that it was someone's birthday that I had traveled with. Well, not like we didn't travel together, but like I met in my travels rather when I was homeless in San Francisco when I was 18. And I was looking, he hadn't really posted in a few years at least, and so, as one does, I was looking through all his photos, and I saw a couple of pictures of other people that I recognized from, like, 2011, 2012 era of my life, and it got me thinking about how, like, I am missing, I feel like, a lot of memories from that time in my life. I mean, I remember the good stuff, but I feel like I don't have a lot of super negative memories from being homeless, which I know, like, as, like, a fact that, like, I definitely had really hard times, and, like, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, like, how I've remembered it a lot, you know? I know it seems very, like, weird to consider my homeless years as sunshine and rainbows, but, like, that's how much better it was than my abusive childhood home, right? I was sleeping outside. I didn't always know where my next meal was going to come from, and I was very drunk and on, like, a lot of substances, you know. I was running from myself and my past. I wanted to be anyone but me, right? And I think perhaps, like, transitioning out of that kind of lifestyle, that I just, like, not necessarily, like, repressed bad memories or anything like that, but I just kind of didn't hold on to them, because, in contrast, the liberation that I had, the freedom to be whoever I wanted to be, was so intoxicating in a way. And so it kind of got me thinking about, like, how perhaps I've maybe just, like, subconsciously pedestaled that experience for myself, despite, you know, knowing in my logical mind, obviously, it's not ever easy to be homeless, right? Your survival becomes about day-to-day survival rather than ever planning for anything long-term in the future, right? And so, when I was first looking through these pictures, there's, like, this sense of nostalgia, you know, like, oh, like, I kind of, like, miss those times and stuff, but the more I was thinking about it, I was like, I really don't miss being homeless. Like, especially, you know, becoming a parent and having another human depend on you, like, you don't want to risk, you know, their safety in that way, you know, like, it's a last choice, you know, as a parent to be homeless, like, it's usually forced upon you rather than it being a choice. When I was 18, it definitely was a choice. I didn't have to be homeless. I could have stayed in my childhood home with my abusive mother, but I chose not to. And so I do think that definitely put a whole different attitude on homelessness for me than it typically has. Most people are not homeless by choice. Most people are homeless because of being forced into that circumstance. And I don't know, it just brought up a lot of conflicting emotions, and I kind of just wanted to work through it out loud to kind of make sense of it. Really, I am very grateful to be in a home. And it's a nice home too. Like, I would be grateful though, even for, like, a not nice home. I've been grateful for my crappy roach-infested apartments, you know. But I don't know. It just was interesting to me to think about how maybe I've idealized that part of my life, and maybe there are pieces of trauma that perhaps I've ignored from that. But I was just so busy running. And then to recognize, too, that I recognize the faces, but not necessarily all the memories I used to have of these people. Like, specifically, I was looking at a picture of some old friends in Panhandle Park in San Francisco, and they would get up at 5 a.m. to go to the liquor store and get 40s, and we would all drink there. I was 18, so I couldn't buy alcohol, but they called themselves the Breakfast Club. And it was just interesting. I saw a picture of this man I used to know, Roland. He was maybe in his late 40s or early 50s, and he was schizophrenic. He was on disability. He would get money from disability, but he didn't have anyone really left in his life to care for him. And I don't think I really realized how sad that was when I was a kid, because, I mean, again, like I said, my kind of perception of homelessness was like relief from bad home situations rather than, I mean, I knew in my head that it was obviously very like tragic for a lot of people to be homeless, but I definitely had my own biases that I wasn't even really aware of at the time. And I kind of wanted to share a little memory of, I remember sitting down with Roland, and he told me he didn't know if I was real or not, and I said, well, I got an ID, I can show you that. And he laughed at me and he said, they all have IDs. And I didn't really get it back then. I mean, I was young and dumb. I didn't even really know what, like, narcissism even was back then. Like, I had just learned about, the DSM and all that stuff. And so, I really didn't know anything about schizophrenia other than the stereotypical stuff that I'd been taught, as a millennial, like, oh, you see and hear things that aren't real. But I didn't really understand just how, like, real that could be for people. And when I look back on it as an adult, I feel so much, like, sympathy for Roland to be living a life where he genuinely doesn't know if the people he's friends with or speaking to are real. And I remember, too, when I was, like, 18, seeing him sitting on a bench, and he was laughing and talking, but he was by himself. He was sharing an imaginary beer with someone. And it's gotten me thinking about how lacking the United States is for genuine health care for the vulnerable individuals that need it. When you're someone who has a debilitating mental illness that severely limits your ability to function in society, once those people that care for you are gone, you don't really have anyone caring for you. And then, of course, too, there's all the horror stories of, like, when the state takes over custody of people like that, they just basically steal all their money that they may have had. And it's like, it's just so sad. I wish there were more, like, non-profit organizations that, like, offered to help, those people that really just don't know how to take care of themselves properly. I mean, I don't think that people should be forced to sleep outside just because they're schizophrenic, and should be, I mean, it was good. He was lucky that he was able to stay on disability and receive money from the government, but, like, who knows if that has continued. I mean, I really haven't seen him in years and years, and I know from Missouri, like, even just with EBT, I have to turn in paperwork of everything every 6 months, and I still sometimes will get rejected, even though I already had them and nothing's changed. And so, I do know California is a lot more pro-social in that regard. They do like to take better care of their homeless people because there are so many of them, well, and they're just more liberal out there, and they have more means to take care of, the more vulnerable that can't take care of themselves. But I don't know, I wish there were, like, housing opportunities for people like that, because I feel like many of those people would not have chosen to live outside. Granted, not all, because many of those places you're not allowed to drink or smoke cannabis, or at least that's how it was, in the early 2010s and stuff. Like, you had to basically agree to sobriety to have a home, and so many people that are in the crisis of homelessness are not ready to give up, alcohol and stuff like that. They don't want to get drug tested to keep their house. They'd rather just sleep outside and be able to mentally escape via drugs and stuff like that. And it's just sad. I just wish there was another way, a better way to help all these people. And I really think that, like, criminalizing drug use only perpetuates the issue of homelessness and drug use and overdoses and stuff. I don't think drug use ought to be considered a crime. I think it's a symptom of a much larger problem. No healthy, happy person says, I want to go use heroin, or I want to go drink myself to death. You know, like, people don't do that when things are going good, you know? And so I think, like, forcing sobriety onto people is always going to fail. Becoming sober has to be a choice you make, and I think that a lot of times people need to have other building blocks in their foundation in place before they can reach that ability to choose that for themselves. And I get it, I'm like a radical, but I just feel like any government worth supporting is going to support the most vulnerable people with food, housing, healthcare, and mental health care as well, which I just include in healthcare, but apparently that needs a distinction. Also, vision and dental should be included in healthcare. My eyes and teeth are part of my body. Why do I need separate insurance for that? Anyways, but yeah, sorry, I've like just been rambling about random stuff, but I just kind of wanted to share a bit of what was happening in my mind today and get that out of the way before I started tackling the long to-do list today, setting up for my son's birthday party tomorrow, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, I hope everyone has a good day. I don't think there was really a point to this video. This was just cathartic for me, so I understand if you did not watch all the way to the end. But either way, have a good day, and I love you. Bye.